For the world, it is Wednesday, January 20th. And we're back to our winter overcast. It's got a little bit of snow, so it looks kind of pretty outside, nice and white all over everything. Probably still a good day to get out. All it takes is a little bit warmer clothes, and you can still enjoy God's creation. Today's devotion is entitled Facebook Impressions, written by Quinn Caldwell. Quinn's one of my favorite writers. I just like his style and approach towards things. Quinn bases the devotion upon the Gospel of Luke chapter 18, verse 9, New Revised Standard Version. Jesus also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. Quinn writes, that Jesus told this parable to some implies that there were others who didn't trust in their own righteousness and regard others with contempt. Quite possibly modest, generous people like this still exist today, but if they do, you'd never know it from social or news media. You can imagine what sort of story Jesus tells. Two guys are praying. One's real loud and sanctimonious about his own goodness, devastating in his critique of thieves and rogues. Another guy, who you can tell at a glance must be a jerk, ends up pleasing God with his humility and faithfulness. The issue with the first guy is, of course, the same issue with me and my Facebook posts. They're focused on the wrong audience. He's hustling to impress himself and anyone else who hears his overloud prayers. His prayers sound like they're addressed to God, but they're really just paeans to himself spiced with vicious commentary about other people. The second guy, on the other hand, is actually addressing God. In some ways, it doesn't even matter what he's praying. What matters is that he's offering prayers that are sincere, actually addressed to God's hearing. He doesn't concern himself with what everyone else is doing, just with what he needs. Probably the first guy's loud excoriation of thieves and rogues got a lot of likes from his followers. The second guy, on the other hand, got a mention from the one he follows. Quinn's prayer. We both know I'm probably never going to manage humility or whatever, God. I'd be willing to settle for a little help getting rid of some of this contempt. Amen. Yeah, Quinn really gets to the heart of things, I think, sometimes. Really pointing out the dangers of social media, how easy it is to point at others and point out their wrongdoing and their sins, and in a way using that to point to ourselves that we're so much better when we're not. So yeah, I just think that Quinn really gets to the point. In the story that he talked about, that's referenced from Luke, is about the religious guy praying and thanking God that he's not like the other people, especially the other guy he sees praying who is poor and poorly dressed and dirty and who is, by the way, just praying, striking his chest, saying, I'm not worthy. And that's his only prayer. Now, I'm not saying that we should think poorly of ourselves, but I think we should be self-reflective and look at how we are in the world and question whether sometimes when we judge others, are we really judging ourselves? Because I think that's often the case, that sometimes when we feel bad about ourselves, we find issues in others to point out and in a way try to make ourselves feel better. But really we should just be praying to God to help us get past our own self-perceptions and continue to do the work of living God's love in the world, including loving ourselves. Because I think it is important to really note that the two greatest commandments are to love God with your entire being and to love your neighbor as yourself. So there's an important part in there to love your neighbor as yourself. And if you're loving God with your entire being, put those two together and see what it says. So I'm hoping from this I will be taking a closer look at how and what I post on Facebook and what I do and don't do, and make a better effort to promote the good things people are doing, and to try to do good myself. And probably the most important good to do is to be kind to myself and work on myself. Because I think doing that, a lot of good will come out of that and into the world. Hope you have a good day, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.